Thanks to join this channel over the subscribe store. Check out the Rumble. I just got everything synced up over there and on Odyssey. So there's two live streaming alternatives when the time comes. So I heard that the comic industry was having a slow pay problem. So I decided, like, who could imagine? Who could imagine? Why don't we just write comics that people want to buy? Oh, but we need to write propaganda. Yeah, but it's not turning out to be that popular. I mean, we've been doing it for a few years now. It's not catching on. It's like we're running out of other people's money. Do you want to stay in business, or you want to like burn the building down as long as you maintain your propaganda principles? Like, yeah, we would rather be a king over a pile of ashes. So I decided to pop over to the digital storefront, and don't let the cover fool you. Yes, it's a good cover, admittedly. Just not don't. I'll get into it in a second. Don't for a second let the covers fool you. So I popped over to the digital storefront, and I looked at just the two that were on the first page. One was Marvel, and one's Xenoscope. And Marvel's got the two cat girls fighting. I looked at the cover, and hey, it looks great. But then I looked at it and I go, yeah, but I mean, I've been reading comics for a long time. I'm not fooled by a good cover. I look at it and I literally say to myself, where inside will they make Blonde Man bad? How many pages do I have? And Blonde Man is just euphemism, but for a person of European descent, how many pages do I have to turn before the fair-haired, light-eyed character is the bad character? Like, where will they have the cultural Marxism, the misandry, the anti-white type of propaganda? It's like, I know it's in there. So I scroll through the pages. And unfortunately, they're not in order. And don't say anything in the comments. I know all the dog whistles, as well as YouTube does also. I'm sure if I had a channel, I was one of the worst offenders. I know it, but YouTube knows all the misspellings. So I scroll through the pages, and in the first episode, that's the first episode, she time travels to the war, and there's only one war in their minds, every other war throughout human history, and punches the blonde-haired man. Hey, zoom in a little bit. What are the odds? They're both blonde. Do you think all Germans are blonde? In their world, yes, all Germans are blonde. So she punches the two blonde-haired men here because she loves to punch the Hugo Boss, which is stochastic terrorism against anyone to the right of Stalin. In their mind, it's like they block the roads, and the dad who's coming home in his work truck is trying to get around them. And like that guy becomes Hugo Boss in their minds. Like, so if you're blocking the road and impeding someone's free ability to move, what does that make you? Oh, it makes us righteous because we're doing it. Yeah, it's okay to do violence against people who disagree with your political views. This is coming from the Bolsheviks, who literally deleted 100 million people. So the first panel is virtue signaling over the Austrian corporal and Blonde Man bad, but for some reason they burned out what's it called, the Haken Cruz, the Crooked Cross. The Indians on Twitter are trying to take that back. It's a symbol of good luck, I guess. I'm not sure why they blurred that out, unless they're just so deep in an echo chamber that they've built up this bizarre fantasy world where they need to virtue signal on top of virtue signaling. The whole thing is really, if you're over a certain age, like this whole thing that's going on now is really weird, because up until very recently, the whole Hogan's Heroes crowd, it just wasn't that serious. It was played for a laugh. But for some reason, the media puppet masters that control our every thought have decided to make them the bad guys and skip the Bolshevik atrocities. Really makes you think. So it does seem odd to me, the extent of media brainwashing, especially among younger people, and the lack of self-awareness. The left, the youthful left now is so different than the youthful left of the past, where they didn't trust anything and they like always question authority and always question everything. And now it's, oh yeah, we're on board with mainstream media and Bank of America. Oh, okay, is that a left-wing position now? This is the new left-wing position. We're raging for the machine. Yeah, that's really what it is. Anyway, they never stop to ask why they think they know what they know. If your source of knowledge about something is from Hollywood, government, schools, or a biased source, then you don't know anything. You were programmed to know what they want you to know. But beyond the culture war virtue signaling, from a storytelling perspective, to retell this one theme, and only this one theme, is bad storytelling. You could have had the characters go after the Japanese or the communists throughout continents and history, but the writer has a narrative to push that anyone he labels a Hugo Boss, then it's acceptable to do violence to, specifically punching them. Keep in mind, this is issue 1 of a new story, and they literally have the same old cliche in it, which is a weird thing to do in a war, because usually you're using tools in a war, not your bare hands. But maybe shooting people would be a bit too on the nose. But it's boring storytelling, because no matter what side you fall on, whether you love the Axis or the Allied, it's just boring by now to keep seeing this one group repeatedly brought up. Then the next panel is the fair character kissing the dusky member of the same sex. So congratulations. I mean, literally, it's like it's as if I don't say anything in the comments. It's as if like you drew a comic to be a cliche, and there's just that much a lack of self-awareness of this. That, okay, hey, you've got the Austrian corporal himself, a fine landscape painter, and then you've got blonde people bad, and then below that you've got, I mean, there's, the juxtaposition is just a chef's kiss. But don't say anything in the comments. So I haven't picked up a comic in a few months, and the first page of the digital site has got these 2 examples. They're just the same cliches they've been doing for the past 10 years. Please, for the love of God, no more Germans as the bad guys. It has been done. It's been overdone, especially when you skip every other war in history to just focus on that one war. No other wars were justified, but that one was. The whole thing is insane, especially when you consider that the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and they committed atrocities throughout Korea and China and to their POWs. Yet comics and media absolutely ignore the Japanese atrocities. They focus on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, fat man and little boy, but not what led up to that. And if you really study the war in the Pacific and how the British and American POWs were treated by the Japanese, you'd be rooting for the Enola Gay. So anyway, the next comic is taken from, there you go. I will admit, like, drawing women is harder than drawing men, especially drawing boobs from like different like pressure points and stress lines on boobs and fabric. That's kind of a challenge. Anyway, so the next comic is taken from the Wizard of Oz. I'll need a human model. But since the flying monkeys are now politically incorrect because liberals are offended by flying monkeys, they made them yeah, and again, don't be fooled by the cover, don't be fooled by great big socialist titties. They made them look more wolf-like. Then they have a scene literally pushing open borders and immigrants. Is this the comment? Oops, are you gonna zoom in? No. This is the open borders. I mean, this is like the issue 2 of this series. Like, do they? The only way to examine it is, okay, the self-awareness, you guys, you don't seem to get that. Like, you really aren't self-aware at all, are you? Like, what are you talking about? Comics have always been political. Okay. I mean, hey, just double down. At this point, accelerate it. Knock yourselves out. Like, where are, like, these other, like, Marvel and DC, I think they have to keep the IPs alive, but, like, Dark Horse, Image, Zenoscope, and what's the other one that's in Chapter 11 right now? Like, where are they going to be in 5 years? Like, who the fuck is buying this kind of stuff? Anyway, so they changed the flying monkeys to look more like wolves, and they got a scene pushing open borders, and immigrants from radical different society are welcome into this world. But it's weird that, of course, it only goes one way. I guess it's not really open borders technically. I guess it's more of a funnel because they're only going in one direction. Oh, thank gosh, you've got a female hero. That's what little girls don't want to see female heroes, and little boys don't want to see female heroes. So why are you putting in there? I'll have you know, this comic sold 7,000 copies. Oh, it's okay. I mean, it could have sold 70,000 copies. I guess in the original story it was a Dorothy. I get that, but I don't know. I mean, ultimately it's like, oh, you just touch grass. Yikes, my guy. Put your finger inside a woman, and that will, like, justify our beliefs. Everything they say is this bizarre. Like, they have different values from everyone else, and you go, like, nothing you say makes sense, because I know it's coming from a soy boy who's on his computer and is, like, literally on Twitter all day. But I mean, it doesn't matter like the back and forth between like the people, like the Comicsgate crowd, anti-Comicsgate crowd on Twitter. All you have to do is look at them and go, but is this stuff selling? Oh, well, no, it's not selling. That's true. It's not selling, but it's not selling because of other reasons, not because of the writing. No. It's external things, not because of the writing, because of the cultural Marxist propaganda. That's not like a thing or whatever. Yikes, Mike. Just these people are really hard to take. Anyway, so flying monkeys are out and flying wolves are in and open borders. And I mean, at least they're drawn better. Where I've been following the Ms. Marvel comic for the past 4 years. I think it's on issue 40 now, and they went through like I don't know, like 30 issues of flat-chested characters. And then they suddenly got boobs again, and then they kind of faded down again, and then went back to having boobs again. The whole thing is kind of weird. But it doesn't make the comic any better. It's just, I guess they're prettier to look at if you're a collector. I mean, but like the first 20 or 30 issues of that Ms. Marvel, or no, Captain Marvel, sorry. Captain Marvel, for the Brie Larson thing. It's just like, oh, so every female character's like 115-pound A cup. Yeah, that's right. What are you, like what are you, like pants around your ankles while you're reading a comic? Yeah, that's immediately where your mind goes for these people. It's like, everything to them is through the lens of the things they value. And the rest of the world, you look at them like, how are you guys real if everything like everything is sex to them, and then they're immediately wanting to use it as a pejorative. And the next thing is they use the things they claim to value as pejoratives also. Oh, you must be gay if you don't like these gay characters. Is that's now a pejorative to you? No. I meant, what I meant was, yeah. Like when they don't know what they are, like nothing matters. They will just keep flip flopping from side to side because they're reactionary. If the right suddenly came out against pollution, they would find a way to be reactionary against it. That's how signal response they are. They're wired to that. Anyway, so I thought I'd decide to check in on comics. Don't let the covers fool you. This is like a 80s, 90s cover, except her thighs are too thick for the 80s or 90s. I'm not into those. Like, there's a woman who with the waist that tiny does not have thighs that big. That doesn't make sense. But those titties did nothing wrong. And then you read that, you get into it, and you're like, oh, hey, cool. You're just like, I've seen this stereotype 1,000. Gee, so Stalin or Mao? Stalin or Mao actually like dropped bodies in tens of millions, right? And, oh well, that was just a system of economics. But if the result results in bone gardens and well fertilized fields, well, it'll do it different this time if we're in charge. But I mean, wouldn't these people also do it different? How dare you say that, sir? Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys all next episode. No? Yes?